show. You're about to hear from very special guest, Jodie Campbell, functional medicine coach. She's going to share a little bit about what that is, and we're going to be talking about autoimmune conditions. So, welcome, Jodie.
Hey, thanks, Malcolm, for inviting me on to have a quick chat before this workshop.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Well, you and I, we've known each other for a number of years. You've been a past presenter at the Calgary Fermentation Festival, and
Mhm.
yeah, you've presented on ferments, gut health, and always appreciate not only the wisdom, the knowledge that you bring and that you offer, but also just who you are. You got such a great, light, bubbly personality, and love following you on social media as well and everything that you share there. So.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
cool.
Awesome.
Right on. Well, maybe the first question is, what brought you to the topic of autoimmune?
Oh, but that's like the perfect question to start off with. Because that's what actually I was thinking in my mind. How did I evolve to this working with these sorts of folks dealing with these entrenched chronic immune dysregulation and working and supporting people with their gut health, bloating and cramping and diverticular flare-ups and all the rest of it that goes, constipation, diarrhea, all of those symptoms led me to seeing that there was such a need to support people that have been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. We know that the progression of poor gut health leads to immune dysregulation. So oftentimes I was finding as I was working with these different ones, it's not in my scope to diagnose. So I would never. So giving somebody a label is not helpful. But you could see that they'd actually kind of crossed that threshold where we were in a state of immune dysregulation. And without saying anything and keep working on some of those pieces, we were able to resolve and start reversing some of those dynamics. So it was just really a natural progression to support a group of people that are very unserved in this world, specifically in the conventional model. They're just told here, this is what it is, manage it.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, that's amazing. And in fact, that was going to be my next question, which you already alluded to. And I
Mhm.
know it's possible. I know you, it's possible. But for the folks that I mean, it just happens too often, right? People are given this diagnosis of whatever type of autoimmune they have, and
Yep.
there you go. It's almost like it's a life sentence. Now, just confirm
Yeah.
for us, is it possible to reverse that? And then maybe without sharing specifics, oh, it was Jane at who lives at, such and such a place, like maybe just kind of a story or two to kind of like
Absolutely.
anchor that in. Yeah.
So, a lot of people who are reaching out to me for support, maybe most times it's referrals because they have heard from somebody else that, hey, this completely changed how I thought this was going to be receiving this diagnosis. And it can feel very devastating. You can feel very much alone when, you probably had been going to the doctor, I don't know how many times, looking for some support. And then all of a sudden, one day, they're like, oh, that's what it is. And you get this diagnosis. And then it becomes you just plug into a protocol. And people try that. And eventually they find their way in going, no, that's not for me. And I could say that probably happens with many of the folks who find in themselves in partnership with me going, oh, wow, you can turn this around. You can restore balance to the immune system. Why wasn't I offered this? Why is it only just medications? And I have a lot of examples. So, depending upon the pathology of where that body or immune system is dysregulated and why it's interacting with the body, I can think of, I work with a lot of folks with MS, and a lady had reached out to me and she was just at the doctor's and she had heard that the next step is, hey, you better start finding out what kind of wheelchair you want. Absolutely devastating. Her thinking forward, is this really my legacy for the next number of years that I'm going to be alive? And just through conversation, she had heard about me and we started working together. And probably about 6 or 7 months, she found her mobility coming back. We had figured out what was provoking the immune dysregulation, what were some of the nutritional deficiencies that had been entrenched for quite some time. And she found herself being able to actually walk unassisted. And we live out in the country, and that's a long walk down that driveway. I know the driveway. And she was able to do it unassisted. Now, that just didn't happen overnight. We worked on a lot of really key things. Um, but every time we get together, it's getting better and better. And the pain and the legacy for her now in this next season of life is completely different because now she's in control. She now knows why this happened and knows what to do to assist the body in the healing process instead of always being in this defend mode. That's one example. I work a lot with Hashimoto's as well. And just lots of examples. So I don't know how many you want me to share. But a lot of times with Hashimoto's, it's debilitating fatigue. We can see the metabolic follow through when we're not creating, the right thyroid hormones. But why is the immune system engaging in this way with this particular organ? What are all of the contributing factors? Nobody wakes up one day and goes, I think my body is going to flip the switch and it's going to go rogue and my life is going to be terrible from here on out. It's a progression. And it takes the same thought, okay, I got to this point. Now we need to understand how we got here because the immune system is very intentional and very highly regulated. I can say for certain there is no person that I have worked with that has been diagnosed with an autoimmune where their body is broken. It's not. It's just they didn't understand why the immune system started to respond this way and then the ripple effect it had on the rest of the body. But it's a very highly regulated, such an intelligent system in the body. Once you know how to work with it and calm it down and start kind of changing the direction towards healing, life changes completely. So
Wow.
I love working in this space and getting people to go, okay, there is hope. This isn't just about managing it. Um, we can do things to slow the progression down and change that legacy.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, what a beautiful gift and what fulfilling work, to be able to,
Yeah,
like you said, like just as people look at that next chapter, that next phase in their life, like for it to be opened up now with light and hope and potential. You gave a couple of examples, right? Hashimoto's,
yeah.
MS. My next question, I'm sure somebody watching, like maybe they have an autoimmune, maybe that somebody they know has an autoimmune and think, well, but it's lupus or it's, something else. Like, does it really matter what type of autoimmune? Like, so if your approach when you're looking at the body and you're working at getting that, dysregulation back into flow and harmony, like,
Right.
does it matter what the type or is
Not
it?
not necessarily. There are certain patterns that we can see there. When you receive a certain diagnosis, it's the pathology in the body that they are diagnosing that's become entrenched. And what you need to find out is what is the root cause. And across all of the autoimmune dynamics, it usually falls into kind of two or three categories that are influencing this immune dysregulation because that's what it is at the end of the day. The diagnosis works great in the conventional model for coding appointments and what medications are available, what are we monitoring, who do you need to be referred to. In my world, I am looking at the whole person and what is contributing to the immune dysregulation. The diagnosis doesn't give me that's exactly what we need to go and do at all. You need to look at all of the pieces of somebody's puzzle. And I think what's often overlooked is their health history. are we spending enough time to truly understand how we got to where we are and then continue to unpack those pieces? So, does it matter what the diagnosis is? No. At the end of the day, it is immune dysregulation. You're just looking at different maybe patterns where the body is struggling a bit and where to put that into support. But I can't say that every person that I have worked with MS has the same lab work or the same results or the same, unique life experience that got them to that diagnosis. It's all so different, and it requires a personal approach and a personalized roadmap, because you can't be putting people into these protocols and regimes without who is this person? What's going to work for them? How, what kind of partnership is this going to look like to turn things around? So I'm never caught up on the diagnosis. Even with the clients I work with, we don't actually, we're not allowed to refer to the diagnosis. It's immune dysregulation, changing that instead of hanging on to that label as to thinking that's who they are when it's not. It's immune dysregulation.
Yeah, and I think you even alluded to it earlier when you were talking about how you might even notice, patterns of immune dysregulation in somebody that may not have even been diagnosed yet. Maybe they're not at that point, but their body's kind of going
Yep.
that direction.
Yeah. The diagnosis, I've seen it over and over again. When somebody receives that, it it's not helpful at all, because it completely changed the mentality and the mindset of what they're hearing from that conventional model. Or maybe what is the next thing somebody does when they get home, when they've received a diagnosis? Dr. Google, here I come.
Right,
Not helpful
right.
at all. And people then start going, I could try this, I can try that. And then that's when the overwhelm and the frustration sets in, because none of that information that they're picking up on, do they know if it even applies to them? Is that what they really need to be doing in the context of where they're at with their body? So that diagnosis can be really trip people up.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, what they need to be doing is seeing someone like yourself. I mean, I fortunately I've never been in that position, but I've heard story after story of kind of the conventional medical system for all its miracles and the amazingness that it is. Like
Yes.
so often people feel like too let down. They don't feel heard. They don't feel seen as an individual, like you say, with a personal history, with a personal future of, okay, this is you, this is your story. Here's where your body's at, and here's how we can move you forward back to health.
Yeah. And a lot of times we get so caught up in the triaging of the symptoms, the byproduct of this immune dysregulation, and we're not giving much thought to the mind load and living maybe for a lifetime in that sympathetic nervous system mode, which keeps that immune system hypervigilant, always in defend mode. When does it going to get to do some healing in that parasympathetic? So it's not only just the physical load that's manifesting on the body, but it's also the mind load also has to be addressed. You can't do the healing one without the other, because that's what makes that person unique, their own unique life experience. So I find that is not going to happen in on the conventional side. There's a lot of really, they have some really great tools, because there are times where you can complement that work being done, and then that person can see, wow, the body is responsive. Maybe I don't need all of these medications that maybe are accelerating the progress of this disease, leaving what was originally the root causes to simmer
Right.
and to continue to progress. So it does take a multifaceted approach when we're working with these types of entrenched dynamics in the body, and realistic expectations as well going into
Yeah.
this type of work. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, that's a good little segue because if somebody's watching this and for the first time, like gets a little glimmer of hope, like, okay, there can be a path forward. I think it is about setting those real expectations. Obviously, this doesn't happen overnight, to
Correct.
kind of bring the body back into a state of balance. If they're, again, just listening, like, okay, there's that awareness, that potential. Through Light Cellar, my whole mission is to help people find and learn how to craft their own food and
You got it.
medicine. And we have the teaching kitchen as a resource for certain skill sets, like, oh, how do I create sourdough bread? How do I ferment? Make chocolate,
Yeah.
these kinds of things. But also these kind of like special interest classes that are focused topics. So you're going to be joining us Saturday, October 5th. Coming right up for a class that you've titled Autoimmune Recovery, and
Hmm.
it's 2 hours, and then obviously, that's not going to be everything. Your journey's not over after 2 hours, but give folks a sense of kind of what this class is all about, what you'll be sharing, what they'll be walking away with from that afternoon.
My the what I want to want people that are either going to be attending that know someone are dealing with these dynamics of immune dysregulation. The main thing I want someone to walk away with is hope.
Mm.
Um, wow, I haven't heard this before. This is something new. This is something that I could do. That's what I want people to walk away with. What they're going to find in the workshop is I'll take you through what the progression is that likely leads to these sorts of dynamics, where you actually need to start in doing this work. So lots of times people think it's just triaging the symptoms. Important, you want some rapid relief. But what are the layers that need to be assessed and looked at for a unique individual? Is that work being done to really know what the root causes are? And I focus a lot on food. Food is foundational. Food is so informative. Uh, what are we communicating with our body through food? Is this working for us? Is this working against us? And I agree, the Light Cellar has just been a phenomenal resource that I have sent clients to, I don't know how many years, 12, 13 years, maybe even longer, because that's what it is. It's exactly a resource. And that's what I love about that space is it's focusing on the right pieces to bring balance back to the body. And for some people, they may find another interest. Maybe it's foraging or maybe it's another workshop, but they're all complementary to supporting the body to be balanced and to always be wanting to be in a state of healing so that you can enjoy a vibrant life. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to include kind of details if anybody wants to check that out. Saturday, October 5th. It's kind of afternoon, 1 till
Yeah.
3. You can join in person or online. And I'll just mention whether you're able to attend live or not, we're going to have a recording of this. So, I get it. Some people might be tuning in from Ontario, right? And that time slot is not available to them. But if you register, you'll get the recording afterwards, and of course, even if you're able to attend in person. So there is the option of both. And if people want to connect with you right away, Jodie, what are the best avenues, like social media, website, all that good stuff?
I think the easiest is probably social media. So it's Jodie D. Campbell on Instagram. That's probably where I hang out the most. And then on my website, JodieCampbell.ca, if any of this is resonating and you just want to have a conversation, do that. Take that 15 minutes. You never know where that is going to lead. And there's never any pressure after, having a conversation with myself. It has to align. It has to be the right timing and it has to be the right alignment as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And that is partly what the workshop's all about too, as well. It's like after listening to this conversation, come to the workshop, get more insight into, Jodie, who she is, how she views the body, how she works with immune dysregulation and can help you on that path to recovery. So I want to thank you
Mhm.
for joining me this afternoon and sharing
Yeah.
a little bit of insight and some hope and some light to all those who have been, either labeled with this diagnosis or just things aren't quite right. And maybe they're not even sure. Maybe they haven't had the diagnosis, but they know that there's a shift, a turn that is required. Jodie is a wealth of knowledge and experience. And yeah, happy to have you present with us coming up here quick.
Yeah.
So, folks, you can check out again links down below. If you know somebody that this can be life-changing for, please share. And yeah, looking forward to this class on Saturday.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting many of them on Saturday as well, and we'll have a really good, rich Q&A session too.
Yeah,
The best
awesome. All right.
part.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again. We'll talk to you later and see you on Saturday.